Welcome to Whispers Beyond the Veil. I'm Brooke Ashley, and tonight's story is called The Phantom's Feast. Remember, the veil is thinner than you think. There's something about the Minnesota Renaissance Fairgrounds in October. The way the air smells of cider and wet oak. The banners sagging with the rain. And the ghosts of laughter from summer still tangled in the trees. Martin and I pulled through the gate just before dusk. Our headlights caught rows of empty tents and wooden shop fronts painted in colors that had faded to memory. Jim Cunningham, the feast master himself, stood under the main arch, torch in hand, grinning. "Glad you made it, Brooke," he called. "Perfect night for a haunting." He was right. The sky had a bruise-colored look it gets right before the snow. We were there to set up a small paranormal investigation for the guests of the Phantom's Feast. A bit of October theater, but the theater had other plans. By the time we finished placing our EMF meters and cameras, twilight had collapsed into fog. The fairgrounds looked endless, paths looping in directions they'd never done before. Somewhere in the trees, I heard pipes. Not recorded music, real pipes, bagpipes. A reedy, playful melody that made the hairs on the back of my neck rise. "It's probably Jim testing a sound," Martin said. Except Jim's voice answered from behind us. "Wasn't me." We laughed, but the laugh didn't sound like ours. It echoed back from the oak grove behind the stage, higher, mimicking the rhythm, but not the tone. That's when the lights along the path began to flicker one by one in a pattern. Left, right, left, like footsteps. We waited for the crowd. No one came. Tickets had sold out weeks before, but the parking lot was empty. Even Jim's voice sounded distant now, as if he was calling through water. Our radios crackled with half sentences. Laughter, a word like, "Stay." The equipment failed all at once. Every battery flat. Martin and I started walking back towards the gate, except the gate was never there when we reached it. The path split and split again, leading us past the same stalls, the same sign for "Ye Old Turkey Legs," the same old oak with a fence carved into its bark that seemed to be smiling wider each time we passed. In the trees, movement. Slender figures, pale as moonlight, sliding between branches. Bare feet, anklets of bells. Their voices overlapped like wind chimes. "Stay for the feast, the feast, the feast." I grabbed Martin's hand. It was cold as stone. The fog poured through the lanes until we could see only a few feet ahead. The fairgrounds were alive now. Music everywhere, but off-key. Tambourines, drums, cheers, plates clattering, yet no people. We stumbled into the banquet hall. Torches lit themselves as we entered. Tables were set. Goblets filled, bread still warm, but the chairs were empty. At the head of the table, sat Jim Cunningham, grinning under a golden crown of oak leaves. "Welcome to the feast," he said, but his voice echoed from every direction. Behind him, shadowy figures appeared one by one in the fog, raising cups to their lips without faces to drink from. Martin whispered, "Brooke, we have to leave." But my legs didn't move. The air was sweet, like apple wine in decay. Then the music stopped. All eyes, the empty spaces where I should be, turned towards us. Light blinded me. Someone was shaking my shoulder. "Brooke, hey, it's time." I blinked. Morning sun slanted through the tent flaps. Jim stood there in his Feastmaster costume, perfectly normal. Outside, I heard guests laughing as they lined up for the show. Martin was beside me, half dressed in his wren garb, looking just as confused. Our equipment was packed, the tables clean. No fog, no music. "Did we sleep here?" I asked. Jim laughed. "Of course you did. You've been here all night. Let's make some magic." I looked at my watch. The hands were stuck at 12:03 a.m. We went through the motions, lights, microphones, audience, applause, like nothing had happened. But as the curtains rose, I caught a glimpse. Beyond the tent, the oak grove was misty again. In its shadow stood a figure with antlers, rising, a goblet in a salute. I blinked and it was gone. But the smell of apple wine and damp earth lingered through the show. When Jim toasted the crowd, the words came out strange, like an echo from a different throat. "Welcome to the feast that never ends." The audience laughed. I didn't. Behind their cheers, I could hear the bagpipes again. Distant, reedy, calling from the oak trees outside. Remember, the veil is thinner than you think.